Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
How you, Brandy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doing good too. Where are you from?
Tyler, Texas.
How about that? I go out there all the time with the Kinder dudes and Reese, and I told somebody recently I might have to move there, but my wife would say no, so that'd be bad.
I love it out here. I was living in the North Dallas area for,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, decades, raised my
that's
kids
awesome.
there. And yeah, I wanted to get
Cool.
away from the city. So here I am.
Good for you. Yeah, I'm in Metro Atlanta, so that is exciting. Are you working you using the funnels?
I, so I'm just now getting started. I've got
Oh,
everything
good.
kind of set up last week, still waiting for the agent attraction stuff to get
Oh, yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm just trying to jump in on all the coaching calls. I'm trying to go through all the previous coaching calls and
Yeah.
learn as
Well,
much as I can.
a lot to it. That's awesome. Yeah, it'd take a little while to get your AP for your phone for the attraction system, but
That's
besides
where
that, you
I'm
should
stuck
be.
right now. Yeah, waiting on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think it's 4 to 10 days. I think it's kind of all over the place.
Well,
So,
and I think, I've heard Holly say even, 2 to 3 weeks for whatever reason. So,
yeah. Yeah, maybe I was thinking business days, which would be more like 2.5 weeks or so, or two
oh, that's
weeks.
true.
Yeah. Well, hang in there. To happen when it happens. Unfortunately, that's one of those things you just gotta wait on. But hey, glad to see you hopped on today with us. That's awesome.
Soaking it all
There,
in.
yeah. There's the host, Captain Braden Kinder, running the show. Oh, he disappeared into the honey badger song there.
Sorry about that. How y'all doing? How's it
Right
going?
on, right on. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It is indeed Good Friday. Um, yeah, we'll give it another minute or so, probably get rolling.
Oh,
Uh, and we haven't been launching a ton of. We got somebody that's got a lot of background noise. I don't know who that is, but if we could get that
it's me. I'll fix it. Is that better?
sand going in the back, maybe or something. I think we're good now.
Yeah, it was me. It's
Um,
my microphone's whack.
all good. All good. All good. So give it another minute and then get my screen pulled up here. Dan, can you hear me, Dan?
Yep.
You heard from Katie at all?
Yeah, she's back in action. So, we might want to circle back with her. You heard from her?
I
She's
I
FQA, man.
I know that we were ready to get her turned back on. But I haven't heard from her now.
I'll circle back to her. She is FLQA. I did get her on the FLQA program with Sharon Bicknell because they're in the same area.
Mhm.
And she's actually sitting open house for Sharon this week. She's still running Zillow or doing the Zillow leads thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, she's probably prime candidate. I'll talk to her next week and I will tell her to text you because I want her to do it, not me. No way that might happen.
Yep.
And then I'm going to reach out to you next week too. I got some stuff I want to talk to you about this stuff that's coming out in May,
What is that with the
co-sponsorship.
sponsorship? Yeah.
You finished up your stuff yet?
I tested and I failed the state.
Well, you know what? I failed the broker test 4 times.
Well,
And
that's a little different. The broker is pretty hard, isn't it?
yeah, well, it was a long time ago, but it was a little bit of a life lesson. The first time I almost passed. Second time it was kind of close. No, the second time I failed miserably. Third time it's kind of sort of close. I was getting pretty frustrated. Then I thought, you know what? I don't even care. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this test until I either pass or till I die, and just whichever one comes first is whichever one comes first. And then I pass the next time. So yeah, back then it was like 163 questions in Georgia, and I told a friend, I said, Dude, you couldn't ask me 163 questions about my wife and two kids that I love dearly without me getting annoyed and frustrated and tired of talking about it. So I don't know how they expect me to pass this broker's test. So anyway,
Um,
hang in there. You'll pass it. After we talk, you might be a little bit more motivated anyway. So that'd be good.
well, I will say this. Yeah, that's it's been a enlightening to see what the opportunity is now, to say the least. So
Kind of got it figured mostly out, and I've had really high level calls, and I got one at 1:30. So yep, you could. I got some information that would help you be able to dominate that too. You got a really good offer, so
yeah, man, really, what I'm wanting to I'm starting to look towards is wanting to kind of the goal now is going to be, we've got it pretty much dialed for the agents that are independent, right? Now it's getting everything centered around kind of like the round robin with a team, and just being able to have a solution for the independent agent, being able to have a solution for a broker owner team leader that wants to feed agents, and building around that. So I think that's going to be kind of. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to find this document, and I'm not finding it right now. I don't know why that is. So that's the old document. I need the new document. Process. We just switched everything into Go High Level, and I actually haven't logged into the Go High Level till just now. Let me call Holly, guys. Give me 1 second, because I want to share my screen and show you the document as I go through it. I could do it off the rip if I needed to, but I would prefer to share the screen. So let me get that document real quick. Let me see if she'll answer. Hey, I just went to funnelpilot.com, and where my normal script is, or my normal documents for the conversion process, the best practices document. I noticed it logged me into Go High Level, it looks like. So I've never accessed that document from inside there. Do you know where exactly I would see that? I see, I'm logged into it. I see take courses, or my courses. There's 6 courses in here. Yep. I see yeah. Well, I see 100 with Jeff, funnel pilot con, funnel pilot ads mastermind. Yep. J- Yeah. It says membership is pending. Oh, can't do it. Can't be in that. I was trying to find it. I swore I would have had it in my email somewhere. Yeah, I can do it. I have the older version of it. I just don't have the. Yeah. Okay, so let me refresh this and see what it does. Oh, yeah, and then welcome everyone, and then that's not
Hi,
actually
hi, Braden. I just have a quick question.
that.
So my name is Zaira. I just went independent at EXP in Ottawa, and I'm wondering if like what we learn here is also applicable to Canadian agents.
100%. I'm working with
Okay.
probably 20 or 30 Canadian or agents that are in Canada. Of
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
course. Holly, I'm not seeing where it says where the actual coursework is. Is it in learning? Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Learning there. Technical difficulties here, guys. Here we go. This session is locked. Okay. I know why we did that, but I don't like the fact I know why we're having to deal with it right now. All right. Okay. I think I'm good. All right. Appreciate you. Bye. Sorry about this, guys. This is not ideal here, but switching systems, we run into things like this here and there. So
Are you taking questions right now, Braden?
sure.
So I use Lofty, and I kind of let a lot of the leads build up. So I have like, I don't know, 120 to follow up on, and the single dialer, the single line dialer inside of Lofty is just not cutting it. I use Mojo triple line dialer, and is there a is there an easy solution to getting the leads on Mojo and then sending them back and all that? Find myself like messing with that all day and kind of a pain in the butt.
Um, Man, I don't be honest with you. I don't think there is. I mean, there's the. Here we go.
Because I don't think they allow API Nation to communicate with Lofty, right?
It's now Bold Trails.
Okay.
Um, so there may be a connection in there. I've never have done it that way. All right. Um, that says KV Core, and that's not correct. These documents are. One more second, guys. I may have to run this off of the. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen, or are you guys seeing my share? No. Let me see. Was my screen sharing?
It was just a little bit. Yeah, I see it. All
I know
lead practices.
few people in here that are using Lofty. Most of everybody were pushing to use KV Core. But I think what I'm going to be going through is kind of the priority list today. It's going to be different, guys, for KV Core versus Lofty. Obviously, two different systems here. I'm going to pull up the KV Core first. Okay. You see this, guys?
Yep.
Yes.
So we'll go through the best. Let's actually go through the best practices. this is going to be, in my opinion, guys, this is kind of the make or break on, following this as the process to be able to convert these leads once they come in. So this is going to be tailored a little bit more towards, I'm going to try to keep the verbiage somewhat universal here, and we'll see how well I can do with that. Because it is going to get complicated between having two systems here. But I think it'll make sense. So let's talk through kind of when a lead comes in, what do we have happening? In a KV Core account, we're going to be having the 2-minute text that comes in and with a 3-minute email. From there, the recommendation we have is with a 5-minute call or a call within 5 minutes. I say give it a few minutes to see if we can get a response through text. And if we don't get that response through text, then we're going to go ahead and make that call. I will say, guys, that these leads do typically, I see agents that are, if they are willing to communicate with these leads through text, it typically works out a little bit better in the beginning. A lot of times, a big mistake I see agents make is, the lead will come through, it'll respond by text, and then they want to pick up the phone and call the lead right away. As opposed to trying to collect all of the, what I call, the necessary things that you would need, such as the criteria, what's their bed bath price range, price point, all that good stuff, what's their time frame. And so in my opinion, the best case scenario is what I say is communicate in their preferred way of communication. But the point here is that majority of these leads are going to want to communicate through text. These leads are not spear and referral. These leads are, internet leads. They don't necessarily have the know, like, and trust factors built with us yet. So I believe that, being able to converse through text is quite a bit less threatening as opposed to getting on a call. And so that should be the goal when a lead comes in. Is the first thing I'm looking to do is to dial in what is that specific criteria that they're looking for. And once I get that specific criteria, it's on the premise that I'm going to be sending them a list of homes that fit that criteria. That's how the positioning should be, right? What's that specific criteria? I'd be happy to send you a list of those homes that fit that specific criteria. I'm also going to keep you up to date as if we know what the search alert is. It's going to be sending the newly listed homes that fit that criteria, the price reduced homes, and then the properties that move off market. So the difference in a Lofty account, what's going to happen is the AI is going to pick up that lead. And in my opinion, once the AI gets a response, it's going to send another response. But that's where we should really be muting the AI, if at all possible. Okay. Which means using the AI as a safety net, as opposed to the solution that's going to convert this lead for me. So if the AI picks it up and we see that it gets a response, navigating over to the left-hand side, before that lead responds again, where the AI would then have another piece of communication go out or another response, we would be muting that AI and then picking up the conversation ourselves and going from there. And so using it as a safety net is, if I'm away from my phone, if I'm away from my computer, if it comes in at an odd time of night or day, for whatever reason that I'm unable to, then yes, that the AI is going to do its thing. And I have seen it set appointments, and I've seen it say, some good stuff. I've also seen it say some questionable things. And that's really, it's, I don't want to call it unfortunate, but there has just been some situations where it may have not said something that you would have said, and it's typically not as market knowledgeable or specific as you probably could be. A quick example I'll give, just being transparent with it, is like, a lead came in and, they said, now is not a good time. We just had a death in the family, and you probably would have said something along the lines of, I'm sorry to hear that, whatever. Well, the AI says, okay, all right, well, I'll follow up with you next week sometime or something like that, right? Just so there's some situations like that where, in my opinion, the best case scenario is going to be able to mute that AI. Okay. So mute it once we get a couple, that it'll be typically two pieces of text that the AI would do, meaning the initial text goes, the lead responds, and then automatically would hit again, but you're muting it at that point. So the next thing they respond to would be then you coming in and responding to that, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the first two, or I guess the initial contact with the lead, through text for the KV core side of things, and the Lofty side of things. Like I said, the where you should be taking that conversation out of the gate is not pre-approval, not, what I say is if it sounds threatening, or if it sounds like it may be something that, you wouldn't ask you wouldn't ask a stranger, you probably shouldn't lead with that, right? And so the point of that is we're specifically trying to dial in what is that search criteria to be able to get that search alert updated. And I'll just go ahead and jump into a KV core just so we can see exactly where that is. And I'll jump into Lofty too here. Because in both systems, we have a automated search alert assigned to the lead. The thing about this automated search alert is that it's going to be a very broad search alert setup. That means it's not going to have any bed, bath, or price range criteria. And it's only going to be specific to the location he had, ran for the ad. So that lead doesn't have one. Let me find one that does here. Let's see. Got my dashboard here. Find one that's been looking at some properties. Okay, so in KV Core over here, search alert on the right-hand side, you have that button there where you can hit edit, and then you would come in here and you can adjust the location. You can also adjust the frequency if you want to. I'll mention that. Email CC, husband, spouse, wife, right? That may be somebody you want to CC on there as well. So location, you could draw on the map, single family, maybe they're open to townhouses too. Maybe a condo, whatever the case, changing that there. What's their price point? Bed, bath. The best you can get this filled out, the better, in my opinion, right? So, but at least bare minimum, bed, bath, price point. Because the importance of the search alert, guys, is the behavioral automation that's behind this, which is going to be, when we're sending them these properties, if they're doing anything in the system that matches one of these behaviors, such as favoriting a property, revisiting the site after 14 days, viewing, 5 properties within the last week. Those are all things that are going to trigger a text or email to go off based on if we have their phone number or their email that's in alignment with that behavior. That does 2 things. That obviously engages that lead with a piece of communication that we hope to get a response from. But it's also an indicator to you that, hey, we have this lead doing something in the system that may justify us reaching out to this lead or following up on whatever that piece of engagement that went out to that lead was prior than the task that's set. Let's give an example. So maybe I've talked to a lead and I don't have a follow-up with this lead for another month out. But they're in the system doing something like favoriting properties or viewing 5 properties in the last week. And last time we talked, they might have been 3 months out. And if I don't have a follow-up for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is, they're in the system doing something that probably justifies me reaching out. I want to know that. So the big thing here, guys, is getting that search alert set up. Not only just getting it set up, but making sure once you did get it set up and sent over to them, because once you put all that criteria in there, it's going to send them that list. Let me edit it real quick. Down at the bottom, or it's at the top too, save and send. And so that's going to compile the list of properties that fit the criteria of that, and it's going to send it over to them. Okay. And we want to verify that they were able to access that list, right? And so I'll show you what that looks like in the Lofty. A little bit different here.
Hey, Braden, is there an easy way to turn off the property alerts on Lofty? I had a situation recently with an older gentleman who I thought I took him off the system several times, and this was going on back and forth for like 2 weeks, where he kept getting them, and he kept sending me angry emails to take him off the list, and yeah, it was I couldn't figure it out. I thought I turned it off. I was trying different things, and I wasn't sure if there's a kind of a easy way to do that.
There's a really simple way. The question would be is, did you do it this way that I'm about to show you? And if you did, why did it continue to keep happening? And if it did continue to keep happening, then we would want to hit the chat box and have tech side of things look into the back end of that. That is one thing I'll say, guys. We take these systems and build our stuff into it. So if it's not functioning in a way that makes sense with what we built, there's a chance that maybe we made a mistake and didn't get something set up properly. I like to think that doesn't happen very often, but there is a chance of that. But in most cases, it could be more so on the tech side of things, and we do not have access to the back end of that. So if it's a situation like that, it may be something that you need to hit the chat box, which is down here. It's in the right-hand corner of both systems, where you can chat with them. But engagement, okay. The engagement here is where you would find your alert, okay? There needs to be one alert, and it needs to be the alert that's based on whatever funnel they're running. So if this one was new construction, you could come over here to the edit tab. And same thing with this, guys. You're putting all the criteria in here, filling this out, and then we're sending over that list of homes to them. So that would be next. You can name the alert. You could change how often they're getting it. Monday, Tuesday. It actually, it's because it's on the frequency of weekly. So I like the daily. Hit them in the morning with it. Kind of like they're getting the morning. The paper, if you will, each morning, their new update. Although it's a daily, I get that. And then saving that. And then now to remove that, you would have trash canned it.
Okay.
And there shouldn't be any property alerts. While I'm here, guys, a couple things I would suggest. Once you have that specific criteria, putting a market report in alignment with the criteria that they're interested in, meaning the city location, or if you could do multiple ones. I'm not super big on doing a ton of market reports. Say they're open to 5 different cities. I don't think you need to put 5 different market reports, but at least having one on there for whatever kind of their main location they're looking for, I do think is a good idea. And then putting that on a monthly frequency and saving that, as well as doing that in KV Core. If we go over into KV Core, we can find over on the right-hand side that there is the ability to hit add on market report. You would be typing in the city location there and then sending the report on a 28-day and hitting add. It gives you the option to send right away. I don't suggest sending right away. We've sent quite a bit of stuff there in the beginning. So just letting that send out when the system sends. Okay. So in this scenario, this is now going to be considered an active lead, right? So a couple things we've done here so far is we've adjusted our search alert and sent them that list of home. I've also got some type of, I've got some communication with them that they've received it, right? So I've let them know I've sent it. In a perfect scenario, it's, they've received it and we're able to access that list of home. I've also set up my market report in alignment with that. One thing I'll add to that is if they have a property to sell, this is the case that I would probably suggest putting a second or additional market report in place for the location that they have that property. And you can get pretty specific with that in terms of zip code or neighborhood or community, which makes more sense kind of on the listing side of things, just as that's a little bit more in depth as opposed to, in most cases on the buyer side, and not every case, but not always do they know exactly what neighborhood they want to be in on the buyer side, which is why I say kind of keep the buyer side city specific, and the if they've got a property that they need to sell, you can get a little more specific with that. Obviously super situational with that. Okay. The next piece, guys, that I want to show you here. Where is it? Let me find it. It's in. Let's see the time frame tables in here. Right here. So follow-up task time frame framework based on the lead's time frame. So in a perfect scenario, now that I've got all of that set up, the next thing that I would be trying to determine with this lead, and this would be kind of like after the fact that, and it is situational, because if this was over a phone call, this would be handled differently a little bit maybe, but if we're conversing back and forth with the lead and they verified, yeah, I did get that list of homes, the next thing that I think is the most important piece of information to get from them is, what is their time frame? When are they looking to make a move? So the initial thing is getting them up on the search alert, getting the properties over to them, making sure that everything that comes with a search alert is in place, right? I'm not leading with time frame. I'm leading with criteria, so I can get all of that set up first. Then I'm going to time frame second. Because based on their time frame, now what I would be doing is setting up a task that's in alignment with that to follow up with them. So 1 month or less is at bare minimum every week that you would set a task to follow up with that lead. Of course, realistically, if you've got somebody inside of 30 days, you're probably texting back and forth with them a little more often, whether they're, how it goes, right? They're sending you property from Zillow or Realtor.com or whatever. And, we always try to position it where it's like, hey, listen, because realistically, what I say is on a lead that's less than 30 days, you also have them set up in your MLS portal, right? Where that's kind of your more so buyer hot list, if you will. And I always had it where, had them favoriting properties in there to kind of keep a better, closer look on it, closer eye on it. But, realistically, even if they're doing that, I always had clients that would send me stuff from Zillow. So you're texting them back and forth probably more often than that. But at least in the system, you have a task set for at least a week out. So in case they go ghost, in case something happens, in case they're not texting you back and forth, in case they're not favoriting properties on the MLS like we want them to, or whatever the case, we at least have a safety net follow-up for a week out to touch base and see what's happening, see what's going on. 1 to 3 months is a 2-week follow-up task. 3 to 6 months is every 3 weeks, right? So a 3-week follow-up task. 6 months plus to a year is every month. I didn't put this one in there, but if they're a year out, you could probably do a 3-month follow-up and be okay with that. Okay. Up to you on that. You could keep it at a monthly, but if they're a year out plus, somewhere between a month and 3 months, I think is fine for a follow-up. And I'll go through KV4 first. Right. So search alert set up, market report set up, and task up at the top. There's 2 pieces to get to it, or 2 ways to get to it, excuse me. Up at the top, adding the task, follow up, and then setting that task. Okay. I always suggest that you set that task for a time frame that is obviously in alignment with the kind of that framework, but also if we're speaking to an agent, or speaking to a lead, and it's what, 11:30 now, offering that time when you're talking with them, hey, I'm going to be reaching back out to you, in a couple weeks or in 3 weeks or in a month, does around this time work good for you, right? So at 11:30, that's when I'm going to set my task, trying to set the time for a similar time in the future that they would hopefully be available, right? It's hard to say who's going to be available in 30 days from now, but the best guesstimation we could make is that I'm talking to you today at Friday at 11:30, that maybe you'll be available in 30 days at Friday at 11:30. That's kind of the concept of that. Okay, so adding that task. And then also in here, this would be on activities. You have on the right-hand side in Lofty, hitting that plus sign, and then adding that task there. You get a little more capability or functionality here, features, if you will, with Lofty, but adding that task there. Okay. And really at that point, now this lead is going back to KV Core, right? We've set up the search alert, we've set up the market report, we've either muted the AI or removed the drip campaign in KV Core. Muted the AI or paused the AI in Lofty, removed that campaign in KV Core, and now we've got a task set. In a KV Core account, this lead is now considered an active lead. Okay. That means the disposition would now be making sure that this lead is in an active lead status. And in a Lofty account, that would mean that we go to people here and look at our different dispositions up here at the top. We've got engaged contact, contact nurture, contact hot. It would fall under one of these two here, contacted nurture or contacted hot. I say that because we do have a little more functionality with the dispositions in a Lofty. I say anybody that's what we just described there in terms of the lead is hot, and nurture is going to be based on their time frame. So this is kind of like a little step further, and I don't want to get too complicated with it. But in terms of a contacted hot, right, that would be anybody with inside of 90 days. Okay. Where a nurture would be anybody that's set up like that we just described, that would be 90 days plus. Okay. So just a little extra step there in Lofty. Don't want to get too confusing with that, but if that makes sense. Let's go back to KV Core. Now, if a lead comes in, we made the 2-minute text went off, or the AI sent its message, we didn't get a response. Right? We're making that phone call within 5 minutes if we can. If not, we're making that call as soon as possible. If we don't get, a phone call, we don't get an answer from the phone call, there's really kind of two things we want to do here, and it's the same in both systems, is we want to set up the market report, and then we want to disposition this lead correctly. We can't adjust the search alert. I can't set a time frame because I don't know when to set that time frame, because I don't know what your time frame is. Or I can't set a task, because I don't know what your time frame is. Right. So what I'm going to do there is add the market report for the only information that I know, which is the location that I'm running the funnel. And then I'm going to disposition that lead. And in KV Core, it's going to be dispositioned as a prospect. Okay, so this would be, I would click the checkbox here. Are you sure? Yes. And so at this point, with this lead, it's got a search alert. It's now got a market report. The active campaign's running. We're hoping to get a response from that at some point. And now this lead goes into our prospecting disposition, where that would be on the priority list. And I say bare minimum, at least 3 times a week, we are making calls to that prospect list, whether that's, some people do more prospecting, some do less. And I get that. It's completely up to you and how much you want to, invest your time into making calls. I do think the more you make calls, obviously, the better chance you're going to have it being, getting in touch with the lead. But I'd say at least a bare minimum of 3 times a week, hitting your 3 traditional call time frames, which is going to be a morning session, around lunch session, and then an evening session. Right. And whether that's Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Friday, whatever works for you, I think at least 3 times a week, best case scenario. But, obviously, if we want to try to extract the most business out of this and put ourselves in the best situation possible, we'd be making calls every day if we could, especially if we don't have anything else going on. Chat. We got something in the chat. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yep. So, that kind of completes that part of the process. I did want to go through kind of the priority list just real quick. and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but just to kind of overview that, because we are running a little longer here today, but I think this is all really good stuff that we need to make sure that we're doing day in and day out. But in terms of the priority list, there's going to be some priorities that I think that you should be focusing on each day. Okay. The first priority that I think we should look at would be, when it comes to these leads that are sitting in the system that we have follow-up tasks for at the start of the day, I should ensure that I'm able to complete all of my tasks that I have due. Right. And so I may get into a situation where I have something that comes up that doesn't allow me to complete that task, right? That, maybe I have a 30-day follow-up with somebody at 3 o'clock today, but I took a new buyer on last week and I've got a showing today at 3. Well, what should override? Probably the dollar producing activity. I'm going to show that property, right? But that doesn't mean that I can't complete my follow-up task or shouldn't complete my follow-up task. What that means is as I'm getting clarity on the day and making sure that I'm able to, or I'm not able to, one or the other, I'm still going to put myself in a situation where I can complete that task at some point in time. So that may need to be that I take that task and move it to a later time of the day. That may mean that I need to take that task and move it to the next day or a couple days out, whatever the case, but I'm never losing that task. So essentially I'm clicking into that task and I'm adjusting that for a time that I'm able to complete it. Okay. So now at the beginning of my day, I know, hey, listen, I might have got showing at 3, but now when I get back from that showing at 5, I adjusted my task to still be able to complete that 30-day follow-up at 5 o'clock, right? I've got clarity on what I'm doing for the day in terms of still being able to complete all of my tasks. And I'm really big on that because I know that the majority of this business that comes through is going to be in a 3 to 6 month time frame. And if I'm not doing the things that are going to help me cultivate the relationship with these leads over the course of 3 to 6 months, when we get to that time frame, I'm not going to be the agent that they use. So that's the big thing there. Second priority, and getting that first priority shouldn't take you very long. I mean, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes at most, right? We're adjusting some tasks if we need to. It shouldn't take very long. But the next priority that we should be focused on would be any of the new leads that may have come in from the previous day to that morning, right? I put up shot at, maybe 6 o'clock yesterday and had some leads maybe come in through the night. Maybe they came in that morning before I got, opened my computer back up and got back to work. So that would be the second priority, would be going through those leads, seeing if I need to respond to any text, see if I need to make any phone calls, and dealing with those new leads that have come into the system. Okay. Third priority is, so we've got our tasks situated. We're good with those. We've got our new leads taken care of. It's kind of tricky here, guys, because in KV Core, and this is one of the things that I like about KV Core that I don't really get, in a Lofty, which is going to be the dashboard activity at a view like this. Because really what I want to be doing now is, and this is kind of like depending on the day and how you want to, I guess, devote your time to it. Because the next two priorities are either going to be dashboard activity or making calls to all of our prospects, right? I've got my task set. I'm taking care of my people I'm following up with. I've got my new leads taken care of. If I don't have any appointments, I'm hunting for something to try to have a conversation with. I'm hunting for a lead that I can find a reason to try to communicate with and essentially take a lead and get it into our active lead status, right? Or our contacted, either nurture or hot if you're in Lofty. And KV Core, that's going to be reviewing the dashboard activity. Always say anything 2 or more. So you can see here my name right here in the middle. I guess 7 months ago, I looked at this property 2 times. I've always said anything 2 or more is a reason to follow up with that lead based on that. So what that might mean is, like I was explaining earlier, I may not have a follow-up due with a lead for 30 days, but this lead's in here doing something like looking at a property twice. That may justify that I reach out to that lead prior to the task is due, right? See what's going on. Hey, Braden, notice you were checking out this property. You got some cool functionalities with this. You can either email it to them or text it to them. It gives you the link where you can even send that property to them. you know, hey, notice you were checking out this property. Just wanted to touch base, see if you had any questions or need additional information on it. Drop the link below, you know, if you'd like to take a look at it again, right? But essentially what we're doing here is we're trying to find reasons as to why anybody in the system may need, you may need to reach out to, follow up with, and some of these leads, right? It may not even be that you've ever made contact. You could have some prospects in here that are looking at properties more than twice, and that would be a reason as to maybe why you send an email to that prospect or a text to that prospect. Somebody you may have never been in touch with, that now that they're doing something in the system, we say, hey, this lead, you know, it came in 2 months ago. We hadn't heard from it, never answered a phone call, but all of a sudden they're looking at 5 properties in the last week. I bet they're more likely to answer a text, answer a phone call, or respond to an email, right? And so we're kind of looking, reviewing this dashboard activity here to be able to do that. And then that other priority was, you know, calling through those prospects, right? And so it's like, if I've looked through all of this dashboard activity and I'm doing that every day, you know, there's only going to be so much dashboard activity, so many actions that leads could be doing. And once I've kind of worked through that, now I'm kind of sitting here like, the way I look at it is like, my tasks are taken care of. I don't got any new leads that have come in. There's no dashboard activity to work through. Am I going to sit here kind of with my, you know, my hands tied, or am I gonna start making calls? I'm probably gonna start making calls, right? Whether that's for that day, that call session is later that day, or it's at lunch, or like Juan put in the chat there, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right around those call times. And so that would be the kind of the fourth priority there would be, you know, calling through those leads. So that's pretty much all that we've got today. Is there any questions with any of that? I know that it's a little confusing as we have people working in 2 different systems, but I've tried to build the process to be somewhat universal. You know, obviously with the different verbiage, features, and functionalities, it does make it a little difficult to teach this. And I don't know if we want to maybe start splitting this up into a KV Core session versus Lofty session. And kind of, I don't know if y'all got any thoughts on that, but
Braden, I have a question. And I apologize if you covered this already. I had to step away, but I use KV Core for all my old stuff, all my old new construction leads, and I have a ton of them on there. But I also started using Lofty, more recent, and I'm finding I'm going between both platforms. Is it better to try to I guess migrate all the everything from KV Core to Lofty, or should I just, you know, focus on both platforms? Because they're already alerts and all that.
What we said is, you know, it's hard enough to manage one system, let alone 2. Okay, so
yeah.
You know,
and now I'm managing Mojo as well. Like I said, I'm having to call a lot of these people back on the triple line dialer, so I really have 3 systems.
You know, that it brings up a good point, because like for you that may, you know, I talk to agents that, you know, do things differently, right? And this will make sense here as I tie it together. But, you know, for somebody like you that's making a lot of calls, I think the triple line dialer, there's an add-on in Lofty that might make more sense for somebody like you that wants to do a lot of cold calling. I've got some agents that come in and said, dude, I'm not picking up the phone. I don't care, right? Like, I'm not going to call, right? And so it may not make sense for them to use Lofty and be able to
They call and they you know, wanted to write an offer that way. I would love it, but I don't know any other way to get clients other than calling them, even if you're generating.
Well, I mean, I have people that want to hit their prospect list really hard, right? You know, once you've got several months of leads in here, you've got a pretty good lengthy prospect list that you could be hitting every day. But I've got some agents that say, dude, listen, I'm not calling none of these, because they know the response rate's 20 to 30%. And yes, you're going to increase your conversion rate by calling through those prospects and your contact rate. But I've got some people that don't even want to do that. They just only want to respond to the people that are responding to text, and they'll make the calls once they've had conversation with the lead and have a warm contact. But some of the agents don't want to make the calls, and that's fine. And I've got some people like you, right, that want to hit the phones hard every day, 3 or 4 hours, right? So it's just kind of up to you on which system. I'm speaking directly to the point of which system is going to benefit you and have the right features that you need for you to make the decision. Because what I'm going to tell you is, yes, 100% you should be in one system. And I think it would probably be Lofty for you, because I think there's an add-on that does let you have the 3-line dialer and Lofty. And if we need more information on that, we can figure out what that's going to take to get that put in place. We'll take that offline because I need to get with Holly exactly what that process looks like, just with it being a landlord account and whatnot. But yeah, so yeah, just making the decision.
I also do a lot of like a lot of like seller stuff on Mojo, like pre-foreclosures, probates, expireds, all that kind of stuff. Would you
Yeah.
recommend to use Lofty for that as well? Like just migrate everything into Lofty?
I'm gonna say it one way is you should be in one system, and I don't want to make the decision for anybody on which system is best for them, because I have some agents that really love KV Core. I have some agents that say, dude, I can't stand KV Core. I've got people that say I really love Lofty, and I've got people that say I can't stand Lofty. And it's all going to be user preference, outside of like the AI and a few features here and there, very similar, right? So it's really up to you on which one you want to use, especially being in a situation where you've done some lead gen in one and, you know, you've done some lead gen in another, right? But I would say that the best answer to that is pick the one that has the right functionalities for you, that's tailored towards more how you want to run your business, and then migrate everything into that account 100%. That way you're managing your task in one spot, you're managing your search alerts in one spot, you know, everything's in one spot. And I think it's easy to get overwhelmed trying to do two different systems. It's hard to get in a routine. It's hard to really systematize that, if you will, right? So one system for sure. And I almost tell people, like, you know, once you get it moved over into one system, just act like that other system doesn't even exist. Get the leads out of there, shut off all the automation. You don't even want, you don't want search alerts going off in the other one. You don't want any reason as to even get a notification from the other system to make you think about, oh, what do I got going on in there? It should be, everything's dead in one system and it's moved over to the next. If you're gonna, pick one system and roll with it. I would suggest that, though. I wouldn't suggest keep trying to manage in two different systems.
Yeah, makes sense. Simplicity skills, everything else fails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
just make sure you're going to stay in Lofty though, or you're going to be ping ponging back and forth. So
Yeah, that's true.
that's my only thought on that. And you did a great job today, bro. My only other thought is I have gotten to conversations before with the simple thought of, hey, this is Dan, the reason for this quick call is I want to make sure that your property search is set up correctly. And I noticed you're at $500,002 and $1,017, and that's, I mean, I'll clean it up way better than this, but that's kind of weird, right? So let's home that in, or at least make the numbers where, because you don't want to miss a 1,000,001 property being at $1,017,000, or at 502, at $500,200, you don't want, that's kind of a weird number, right? So I just let them know that we're going to maximize this search by having 500 to 1.1 instead of some weird numbers, and then from there I can tell if they want to keep the conversation going or not.
That's the big safety net here, guys, and not so much safety net, but just the power of the behavioral automation behind all this, is those, the behavioral automation. And that only comes from, it's why I'm so big on criteria and getting that search alert set up out of the gate, and verifying that they were able to see it and get them comfortable with, opening that email and making sure it's not in spam. Because what's going to come behind that is, one, being able to see the dashboard activity, but two, if they're doing anything in the system that triggers one of those behaviors, it's like an assistant working on your behalf that you're not even having to pay attention to or necessarily pay for. So, super big on that, and making sure you got that search alert set up. Like I said, make sure they've verified that they've got access to it and that they're receiving it. So. All right, guys, that was a lot today. Hope it was beneficial, and we learned some stuff. This will be in the recordings if you want to go back through it, if you missed some of it. But other than that, anybody got any questions before we jump off?
Good stuff. I appreciate you.
I have a quick question, Braden, if you don't mind.
What's that?
What's a quick way to kind of check because there's some AI was having conversations with leads, and sometimes I don't find them till like a week later, and I'm not aware that these conversations are going on. what's the fastest way to kind of monitor that?
Over the, you should see it in the notifications on the right hand side. Are you checking the notifications in Lofty?
Yes, I do, but I usually just see the new leads, and then opportunity, I think, is after that, then tasks.
Look up top right hand corner,
Yes,
notification.
the chats in there.
Huh?
I don't think I've seen chats on the top right hand corner where you're at. I usually just see the notifications for the new leads that came in, and after that, it's the opportunities, like people that viewed a property.
So look, if you hit it and you go over,
Yeah.
Messages.
Okay.
That would be where you would see that they're responding.
Okay. Cool. Got it.
All right, guys. I appreciate y'all jumping on. If y'all ever got any questions, feel free to holler at me. If not, appreciate y'all spending some time with us today. If you need anything, holler at me. If not, hope y'all have a great weekend, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Braden.